Yo, what's good, people? It's your boy Persona, gaming with Persona, and one half of the What's Up PlayStation podcast crew. And listen, man, this gonna be a quick little mini video stream type of thing, where I definitely wanted to give my thoughts on The Last of Us episode 2. I know this is something I've been meaning to do all week and really didn't get a chance to because I was super busy and whatnot. So I said, you know what, let's get that out the door this morning. Sunday morning before episode 3 comes out. Now obviously with episode 3, I'm definitely going to talk about that tomorrow, in the space, and I'll do like a video and all that stuff earlier in the week just to make sure that we get that out the door. But yo, let's talk about this episode 2 real quick, man. Hey, one of the things, and I said this on Mooch's podcast on last week as well. Yo, when it comes to this Last of Us show, the production value of this show really is like incredible. You can definitely tell that they put a lot of money behind making sure that this show looks incredible. It's crisp, it sounds great, and then like the environments and things like that are looking good as well. I really do love the fact that this show is just well made, man. Shout out to HBO, shout out to PlayStation Studios, Neil Druckmann, everybody involved, man. Like you guys and girls really do need to get some kudos for that, because this show just looks incredible. But I want to start off with, at the beginning, man, just talking about I think she was a scientist or a professor or something like that, like a biology professor or a scientist or something like that. Her name is Ibu Rantu, I think, or something like that. And one thing I like that this show is doing, because it is kind of different when it comes to the infection. As we know in the show, it's spores and all these other things, but in the game it's tendrils, and and it's like a fungus and all this other stuff. One of the things that I really do like and really can appreciate is the fact that with this show, they are doing like these at the beginning of the show, at least so far. They go into the show like kind of explaining, showing you what life was like a little bit prior to the infection, or right when the infection started, or whatever the case may be, or what may have led up to certain things happening. So for example, in episode 2, we see it starts us off in Thailand or Indonesia it was, right? And it shows this scientist woman, her name is Ibu. She was pretty much inspecting an infected, and saw that the tendrils were still alive, and the person that was infected came from, I believe, a flour mill, or like a factory type thing that processes a lot of things that we use to eat and cook and things like that. And apparently a couple more had got infected. And one of the things that stood out to me with that, because that scene was maybe like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, if that. But the reason why I think that scene was also so powerful was because, like, one of the things that the scientist woman, she said towards the end was, bomb, you gotta bomb the city. Straight up, like, bomb it. and I was sitting there and I was like, whoa, like that's dark. That's really dark. And she was like, yo, take me home. I want to be with my family or whatever. And she pretty much just accepted her fate. She accepted the fate of, like, yo, look, this isn't, the only way that we can stop this. The only way that this can really be stopped is if we bomb. You got to bomb it. And for me, that's crazy. Like, that's such a good scene, because it shows you, again, a little bit of the infected in the beginning, right? Or a little bit of like the situation that was going on towards the start of this, right? But also it shows the part of it where it's like, yo, the drastic measures that you need to take in order to save the greater humanity, and the fact that she was willing to sacrifice herself or trying to put people in that position, like, look, we need to stop this before it spreads. Crazy. I'm still speechless by that, yo. Like whenever I watch that scene, I get chills. I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. but very good scene. And the fact that they started the show off like that, I'm like, yo, like, yo, y'all, like, damn, man, y'all are really going at it. So then, obviously, a couple of the other things that I really do like as well with this episode is, we really start to see Ellie, pretty much not Ellie, I mean to say Bella Ramsey. We really get to see Bella Ramsey show off her acting chops and really get into that Ellie role, and really we get to see a lot of that stuff play out, which I can appreciate. And this definitely put to rest my concerns with Bella Ramsey as Ellie. She definitely embodies the character of Ellie very well in this episode. And if this is anything to go off of for the rest of the show, I'm definitely feeling very confident that Bella Ramsey is definitely going to knock it out the park when it comes to Ellie. She captured her Ellie's demeanor, her mannerisms, her sarcasticness and whatnot. Sarcasticness even a word? She captured all of that very well, and it was on display like throughout the entirety of this episode, which I really did love and appreciate. And I think it with all three of them, Anna Trav or Tess, Joel, and Ellie, we really got to see all three of them really interact with each other on a deeper level in this episode. And I feel like the interactions between the three of them are spot on. Honestly, I think it's pretty spot on, and I think it flows and meshes pretty well. You get what I'm saying? And I like that in this episode. And this was something that I was saying in my last review, where I was saying that sometimes you gotta just like turn your gamer brain off, because I've played Last of Us a million times, right? So there's certain scenes or certain sections where I'm like, okay, this is the gameplay scene, and like when they cut all of that out, or they move kind of past a lot of that, it's like, whoa, like what's like it kind of is discombobulating a little bit, just because it's like you've played the game so much, you kind of grow to expect that. But that's not necessarily the case, especially when we get into the city. And if you guys remember from the game, when you get into the city, you have to go through that building that's kind of leaned over and it's all messed up and whatnot. And there's a lot of gameplay sections there and a lot of stealth and whatnot. They kind of move past a lot of that, because really that's gameplay. That's not really something that you would necessarily, I mean, you could put it in the show, but I understand why they moved past that. But what I do like is that within this episode, you get to start to see the infected for who they truly are. Because, one of the things that was really, really, I was on the fence about was the whole tendrils thing and kind of seeing how that played out. But now that because there's a part of the show where they are on this like balcony in a building, and they're overlooking this huge swarm of infected, right? And shout out to the folks over there at HBO and PlayStation, because I'm not gonna lie, when I seen that huge swarm, I was getting Days Gone vibes. And if you guys have ever played Days Gone, or if you've never played Days Gone, I should say, in Days Gone, they also have like, they in their game they call it freakers, and in Days Gone you come across these huge swarms of freakers that you would have to take out. And in The Last of Us episode 2, the show, it looked very, very similar, which I can appreciate. Now, maybe that's just me over analyzing and really reading too deep into something like that, which most likely is the case. But I'm also a believer that maybe they just give us showing some love to Days Gone, man, showing some love with that huge horde, right? Because it looked so much like that. Anyway, when they're overlooking the horde, Tess explains the whole tendril thing to Ellie, which it made me a believer of the tendrils, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. So there's the way the tendrils work is it's a network, right? And what Tess says, like, something could be happening miles away, and because the tendril can be going for miles and miles and miles, and so infected that are miles away will be able to know if like one of them infected or something is going on, and they're gonna run to that area and try to get there. And they're saying, so it's like one big connected network. And we see we see that play out towards the end when they get to the not the state building, the drop off point where they're supposed to hand off Ellie to the Fireflies, and they all end up, being found dead or whatever. And one of the Fireflies, they were end up being infected and came back alive, and tried to grab, I think it was either Joel or Tess's leg, I forget. And they kill it, and then you see the tendrils grow out of the ground, and then you see that whole huge swarm of infected that they were overlooking at the in the balcony just start running to where they were. And I'm like, yo, I like that concept. I like it. Now I'm still a big fan of the spores, and I feel like the spores are still, like, in terms of the video game, I love the spores, and I wouldn't change anything when it comes to the video game per se, when it comes to how they've built that out. But I will say how it's being explained and done with the tendrils in this game, and the fungus, and it being this whole connected network and whatnot. I like that, man. I really think that's a really great concept for the game, especially once they explained it and you see it in action. I think that's really, really dope. One of the other things too that I love, and this was a section that I was hoping that they would get right. I was definitely going to be overlooking this section with a fine-tooth comb, and this was the clickers. So obviously, when they get to the state building or whatever, and in the video game, this is it as well. In the video game, there's a bunch of clickers in the state building you got to get through, and you get to the roof to walk across and all that stuff, right? And in the show, they got the clickers right, man. Oh my God, they got the clickers right. And it's crazy. And I was saying, it's like, yo, this show does a really good job of selling you, like, showing that chaos, showing that fear, showing that the problems of what's going on, right? But yo, when it comes to the clickers in this show, mind you guys, there was only 2 clickers, but I'm telling you, when I was watching the show, I felt like it was more than 2 clickers. It was really, and clickers are very tough to fight. Like they take a lot more bullets to kill. That you got to be silent. It's just, it takes more. And with the clickers, they were giving Joel, Tess, and Elia a hard time, and it was only 2. It was only 2, and clickers are tough to fight in the game too. And the fact that it was only 2 clickers in the show, and it was such a good performance when it came to showing that off, and them fighting them and trying to stay quiet and sneak around them, and just everything that was going on. I'm like, yo, this is like really good television right now, right? This was great. And the sound of the clickers, that the clickers, especially if you played the games, that the clickers have a very unique sound, right? And that was something that I was hoping they would get right. And in this show, they got the clicker sound right. I believe it might actually be the same people that was doing the clicker sound in the games. I could be wrong on that, but they really truly got the sound right when it comes to the clickers, man. It sounds so good. that weird, especially when they hear you and they go all that crazy stuff. Yo, the way they did it in this show, phenomenal, man. I loved it. Then we get to obviously the section where we know Tess is gonna die. I thought they were gonna do it the same way. They didn't. Like I figured, well, actually it did. It happens a little bit differently from the game, but I'll explain. So Tess does die, which I think we all expected that. I do think that they are going to have some flashback scenes throughout the show or something where Tess is going to be in them. I know. I just feel like that because Anna Troth is a big actress. She's been in a lot of great things, and she's too good to just have in 2 episodes and then call it a day. But who knows? Maybe that's all they really wanted, and that was it. But I'm hoping that they get just a little bit more out of Anna Troth. But with Tess, obviously she got bit during the clicker fight, and now she's gonna slowly become infected. But the way they do it in the show that's different from the game is, again, remember the Firefly infected that came back alive and they killed. That's what brings all the infected that's rushing towards where they are, obviously, because it's a connected network, so they know. And instead of it being like Fedra or whoever that's that she's gonna try to stop and fight or whatever, it ends up being the infected. But it actually doesn't happen the same way, because Joel and Ellie obviously they run off, they get away, and Tess sacrifices herself. But she pretty much, it's like all these oil drums and grenades and stuff like that that's all over the floor and all over the ground, and she's trying to light her lighter to ignite everything so that it can, the building can explode and kill all the infected. Now, the whole time this is happening, obviously I understand why they did that, because they were trying to be it's suspense. It's trying to be suspenseful, because she's flicking the lighter, it won't light. She keeps flicking it, it won't light, and the whole time the infected is running through trying to get to Joel and Ellie. She's flicking it, then some of them stop and they see her. They don't kill her though. They don't kill her because they already sense that she's infected. So one of the infected, I believe this was a stalker too, because he had like some of the fungus stuff growing off one part of his face. And as we know with the stalkers have that type of design. So I believe that might have been a stalker and not just like a base level infected. But he comes up, he starts kissing her, and then the tendrils start going in her mouth to speed up her rate of infection and whatnot. Then as that's happening, she's still trying to light the lighter and all that, and then she finally lights the lighter and explodes. So I watched this episode like 3 times, and I don't know. I obviously I think that the game's version of how she went out was much more gangster. I definitely like that version a lot more, just because she trying to stop the Fedra. Like, I'm gonna stop these fools, and for the greater good and whatnot. And I think the show version of it is cool too. Like, I get why they went with the way they did it, obviously. I like it, but I definitely would have preferred the game version. But I also respect and like this show version as well. Joel and Ellie in this episode too, like they have like a lot of great chemistry as well when it comes to they still don't really like each other, and he's just still doing his job or whatever, but he's protecting her, like he definitely is still like trying to protect her and whatnot, which I can appreciate. And you're definitely starting to see the walls come down just a smidge. You're starting to see it a smidge. I think if I had to score this episode, definitely give this episode a 9 out of 10. I think this was a really great episode. Really enjoyed episode 2 very much. I loved it. I can't wait for tonight's episode 3. I think tonight's episode is going to be crazy. It's Bill's town. So you know how it is with Bill, and there's a lot of action in the game when it came to Bill. And looking at the previews, it looked like it's gonna be a lot of action here. Also, we get to see Bill and his partner. I think we're gonna get some backstory on that, which I can't wait to see as well. Just to see what was going on with that, right? But yeah, everyone is saying that this is like the best episode out the whole series so far. I don't know about that, man. Like people say blanketed statements like that. I would much rather see for myself than take what people say at face value. But we're gonna see tonight, right? And obviously we still need to see the entire show in order to make that claim. You get what I'm saying? Like, I haven't to believe someone that says that, fine, okay, cool, but I still need to see the show for myself, because I might think that episode 3 isn't the greatest episode in the series, so I definitely want to see more. So tonight's episode is gonna be fire, guys. I cannot wait. I'm definitely gonna be putting out my review on episode 3 as well this week, and I am going to be doing a space as well on Monday, talking about the episode, talking about this DualSense controller. It's a couple things we're gonna be talking about, right? But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little review of The Last of Us episode 2. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all so much, man. I hope y'all have a great Sunday. Be safe. It's me, Boy Persona, and I'm out, guys. Peace.